Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Nicole with Made from Scrap, and we're going to start off this story time with, is what I'm calling it, with the Three Little Pigs paper collection, exclusively available at Country Craft Creations. And what I'm looking to do is put together an album that uses a tab binding system. So this is the 8x8 paper collection. I have pulled out 10 sheets specifically from this collection. So we have this one that I'm going to use as the front cover, the start of the story, the first little pig who's leaving home, and he's going to build his house of hay, obviously. Then the wolf is going to come to pay a visit, and then his sibling is going to be building their house of sticks. And then of course you have another third pig that's building out of bricks. Apparently they built a garden here with this story, and that the wolf is all interested in that. And they even got a chance to play around in a barrel, apples, but you see that wolf hanging out still. And then we're gonna be all happy cooking in a pot some stew, and might just have some wolf stew at that. So those are the 10 papers that I picked out from the collection, the 8x8 paper collection. I went through my stash and pulled out a couple of 4x6 journaling cards. These are just from an old box that I had in my stash. And then I had another piece of cardstock that I had cut previously, and just, I don't know, I glued something on it before just for decoration. So anyway, the color choices I was going with because I thought would look nice with this project. Another thing that I did is I pulled out the frames from Tim Holtz. This is from Ideology. Let me get this for you. This is from the frames packet, the baseboards. And I selected this one because it's a little bit more simplistic, but it's a larger size. So this measures right now 4 by 6 inches. And I thought that this would work well because when I place this down on the page here, this first page, I'm going to be trimming this first page down so that I can see the front of the story title right on that first page. So I'll show you how I do that. But first I want to also show you that I went ahead and cut some, this is lightweight chipboard, and I cut this out, and it measures 4 3/4 inches wide by 6 inches tall. And I have 2 of these sheets, so you'll see how I use that as well. I showed in the picture a bunch of different stuff that I pulled out from my stash so I can have a really good time with this project and decorating it. But I promise you we will get to the binding portion. So first things first, I'm gonna start out with this page, this first page. And I am just using eyeball here. Let me pull this over to the middle a little bit more. Okay, frame. Frame, yes. Okay, so I want to go ahead and just place this. I'm moving it around here on the page, and like I said, I want to try to get that title, so I could have done something like this. That would be cute if I wanted to put this sideways, but I'm choosing to put this in a portrait mode, so I want to just take advantage of that little pig with the bricks. So I'm going to hold this down after I have it about straight. Eyeball straight is good for me. I'm gonna pull out my handy dandy pencil. Oh, I also wanted to say, I do want to try to trim this off so I can use this little pig in the future. So I'm gonna go ahead and place a line here. I'm just going to trace around this frame. And then I'm gonna use my scissors and cut that out. Just like so. So I do lose this little pig, but there is another sheet of the same paper here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out. My little cutter here. Stay in frame. Line that pencil mark up. and give it a chop. Just gonna go around doing that. Just use my scissors to give this little bit a trim around the corners. The idea is that you're just a little bit smaller than the frame, okay, because we are going to go ahead and turn that frame over. I stuck to the back. And then we're going to go ahead and glue this down. So make sure that you don't have anything laying off the edge of yours. But I think that looks pretty good, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue that down first. If you don't have these frames, you can always make something out of your chipboard. So that would be very cute. Just gonna place some art glitter glue there, and then I'm gonna go ahead and lay this right down on there and give it a good press. You don't press the middle because we have a hole in the middle there. That's pretty good there. Okay, doesn't that look cute? So now we have our front page of our little album. So the next thing I want to do is, this is my second sheet. I have them in that order. And my next sheet, I really want to be a cover on top of this chipboard. So what I'm interested in doing is, again, this is going to be portrait. I'm going to lay this on here, and you kind of have to eyeball where is the center, unless you want to use your centering ruler. And I just don't really have the patience for that. So I am, let's see. Here is a pig and here is a pig. I'm using my fingers to kind of get the outside of the pig limits. And then I am just going to line this up at the top of the page. Get the rest of these out of the way. So I have this lined up at the top of the page here. And I'm gonna do a similar thing here with my pencil again. Just outline this. Okay, just like that. I'm a little bit off. Maybe need to just, that's the good thing about using a pencil. Really so worried about that. So I want to come over just a hair. Like so. Okay, looks a little better. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim this down. Remember, this is 6 inches tall and 4 3/4 of an inch wide. The other thing that I like to do on my pages are also go ahead and distress the edges. So I'm gonna take a minute here and do just that. I'm using Vintage Photo, that is my go-to. That I want to go ahead and use my corner chomper as well. So I think I'm just going to give that a quick chomp on the sides. This is the 1/4 inch corner rounder. And then I'll show you real quick what my intention is for this. So here's the front page again, and this is the second page. And I'm going to line these up on the left. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and use the next page, and I'm gonna go ahead and line this up so that I have the little pig saying goodbye to his home. I think I want to place this all the way at the bottom this time. I'm just feeling for the edge of that chipboard. So at this point, I'm going to get some of the mountains and some of the house. I think I will just go for the whole house and the pig being able to be shown. So we're going to cut it off right there. So I'll hold this down and flip it over. Line it up with this corner. You could also use this back side, but I am interested in seeing this little pig. So I'm just going to show you the covers of these. I'm going to cut off this section first so that I can use this little windmill. I'm going to cut off this side next, so I'll save those. I'm going to go ahead and chomp the corners quick. Okay. And I'm going to glue this down just like that. And then we'll be able to move on to the pages and show you what I want to do there, because a lot of that pages are intended to be just items out of my stash. And I encourage you to go through yours and use some of those odds and ends that you had fun creating into pages. Use your paints, use your inks, your distress oxides, your sprays, your stains, your stamps, all kinds of things to get you going with this project and just having fun. So this is going to be, again, my first hardened page. It's going to open up, and then this is going to be the second one. I might have some stuff in between here, like I might be putting an envelope in here to use that as a page, and I'll show you that. Might be putting some scrap paper that I had used some paint, some acrylic paints on with my jelly plate. I may end up using a paper ruffle that I created. You can check out my YouTube channel for that, where I just stitched along it and gathered up the paper. So I might be using some of that for decoration. You know, the sky is the limit. You know, maybe you want to do something like this. I just pulled out a few things from my stash, but I'll be showing you all of that. So let me skip over to the last chipboard piece, and for that I'm going to go to the back of my stack here, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I use this last sheet. This is the last sheet that I want to see on my book. And if it's not, then you need to make sure that you use your last sheet anyhow, okay? So check out which section you're going to be able to see. We don't want to cut off the pig. So I want to make sure his top of his head is about here. Let's see, am I cutting him off a little bit? I probably want to move it up just a hair. The hair of my chinny chin chin. So that's about right. It shows me I'm going to be cutting off all of these lovely little foods right here that they've been cooking up a storm. I'm going to cut that. Go ahead and cut this top and bottom and some of my chimney off. Okay, I think that turns out well. So go ahead and do that. I'm gonna trim a little bit more off. Okay, at the bottom, that top. Where's it at? Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and cut off some of that chimney. That's okay, it's just paper. You get the idea with the pot on the stove there. So this is going to be the inside of my back page. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pick out something else for the back side. I think I might just want the greenery. All right, so moving on to the interior pages, I took the next sheet and I went ahead and cut 1.25 inches off of the bottom the whole way across. And then I cut 3/4 of an inch here off of the page. So you can see this little piggy with hay is gonna be brought in here. And that's my first page, my second page. This one's gonna be in here just like this. And you're gonna say, oh, but that's too long. Well, that's okay, because what I'm going to end up doing is folding this over so that it becomes a flap. I think it's gonna be really cute like that. So I get an idea of how wide my book is, and then I wanna just make sure that I am a little bit smaller than that. So I'm gonna end up folding this back. I'm aligning it with the front, the top and the bottom. And I'm just gonna give it a little press. And for now, that's fine. That's all I need to do because that's going to be my next page. And I'm gonna keep building up like that. I'll give you another example here. I'm looking at the wolf, and then on the back side of my page, what I wanna be cognizant of is the wolf pattern on the back. So if you pick it up and look through it, which if you have it in front of you, you can do that because you can see through it a little bit. You'd be able to see where those wolves align. And what I want to make sure of is that I don't cut off here to try to get the wolf in view and cut off halfway through the wolves on the backside or something like that, if I can avoid it, which it does appear that I can do that. So I want to be in the neighborhood of right about here. Let me give you a quick measurement. This is about 2.5 inches from the top. Right, so I'm gonna cut off 2.5 inches from that top, just like so. Love this text on here too, on this page, so pretty. And then that's gonna leave me with 5.5 inches, and I'm good with that, but I am cut down the width here so that I still have the 4, do I want, let's see where 4 3/4 will take me, just like that. What do I want? I think I'm gonna go for 1 inch wider, that way I can have 1 inch wide tuck spot. So I'm gonna put this in at 5 3/4. Chop that off. And that way, board. And I'm gonna score this at 1 inch, because I cut this page at 5 3/4. And I'm gonna go ahead and fold that back so that I have 1 inch of a tuck spot. I will probably stitch either side. You can glue it, and this just creates a little. Okay, so after folding over this 1 inch, I went ahead and put this into my book, the stacks of pages that I'm doing with the small wolves to the front. That way when I turn it over, I see the larger wolf. And then my next page is going to be this little piggy of sticks. I went ahead and cut off this top section, and this top section measures 2 inches, just like that. So I have a sheet that is 6 inches tall. So that's gonna be my next page, and I am gonna do the same thing where I'm gonna fold this back, and this is gonna be a flap. So I'm just gonna fold this back to about 3/4 of an inch reveal here. So you can see that, there. Okay, so that's gonna be my flap there. So that will be another page. And then, let's see. My next page is gonna be the bricks. And for the bricks, I went ahead and cut off this top section, and this top section measures 3 1/4 inches high. So I'm going to be saving this because I like this with the wolf, but this is the bottom section. So that leaves this at 4 3/4 inches high by 8 inches. And I think I might even cut off this section here so that I have a page that measures 4 3/4 inches wide. So I'm gonna go ahead and just place this in my cutter. I don't wanna cut through the little duckies. So I'm gonna be in between. Let's see, how much does this measure? We'll say 2. We'll just go ahead and make it 2.5 inches. So we're gonna cut off the side. I'm gonna turn this around, and I want this to be 4 3/4 inches wide. So I cut that off, and now I have this size, which measures 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. So that is my next page. Okay, just like that. And then I think what I'm gonna do is use this page as an explosion page. I showed that with my baseball album. So I think I'm gonna set this one aside for the time being. And then I'm gonna move on to this page with the apple barrel. I like that a lot. So for this one, what do I wanna focus on? I think I wanna focus on the wolf in the distance and the little piggy in the barrel. So I think I can just make that work here by lining up. Of course, when I go to video, the dogs are gonna wanna wrestle in here, but you know, that's just the way it is. So 6 inches tall, that means I'm gonna cut off 2 inches here on the top. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So put this page in my trimmer. Okay. And now I know that I just want to barely fit this little piggy tail. So I'm gonna place that in my cutter. And I'm gonna cut off, let's see. I'm gonna try 2 3/4 of an inch. Just like so. I'm gonna turn this around, and the page is going to measure 4 3/4 of an inch wide. Place that in my cutter, trim that off. And just like that, we got the little pig in the barrel and we got the wolf there. So I'm gonna set these aside. These are all little pieces that I'm gonna play with later that I set aside already. So that is the last inserted page. I'm gonna go ahead and trim all my corners. That's what I want to do. Okay, so that's that one. That's these. And I have a couple of corners I want to go ahead and chomp. Here and here. Let's do that. We're going to do these. I'm going to do this. Okay. And following this, now this one is short, so I do not need to round the corners on this if I don't want to. I can place it down here low, I can place it in the center, and I think what I'm going to do is plan on placing it in the center, so I'm not going to go ahead and trim these corners at all. I think I'm going to leave these square just like a brick. So go ahead and flip that over, and then that's our last one. So good. I have trimmed all of the corners. So now we want to get out, make sure, do a little, I should have already done this, but count how many pages we have, is because we want to end up with an even number of pages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. Okay. Anything else I add to this, as long as I have an even number of pages, that's fine. If I have something smaller that I want to put in here, it either needs to be connected to one of these base pages or like an additional flap or something. That's going to be easiest because it's most helpful if you have the majority of the length of your page there for your binding. So let's get started. We're going to use this linen tapes here, and this is going to be for the binding. It's very, very sticky, and it has a backing on it. So this is available at Country Craft Creations. You can pick up this linen tape. It's called Patchwork linen tape. But any linen tape will work. Now this is quite wide, and what I need to do is make sure to cut off a couple of pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut this down somewhat the middle first. This tape measures 1 inch wide. And this is a small book. If I had a larger book that I was working on, I might very well go ahead and leave it this wide, but for this sake, I want to make sure that my tabs that I'm working with are 1 inch in length. It doesn't have to be exact, so I'm just going to use my little mat and do that. And actually, I'm going to layer these up on top of each other to make it easier to cut. And I'm just going to use my finger to know where. Okay. So now we have some of these linen tape pieces. I'm going to bring in our book. I'm going to show you how I'm going to start. So I'm going to start with the pieces here. First thing you got to do is separate the backing. Okay. And I'm going to start with 3 pieces. So I want to make sure what is my smallest page. Let me grab that out of here. That's the brick. All this needs to be able to fit on this smallest page. So I'm going to center this, eyeball center it, just to get an understanding. So it is actually just about the length of that opening. So at least that gives me an idea. So I'm going to start here, down here. I'm going to go ahead and press that down. I'm going to alternate these pieces of linen tape. I have one up here. Press that down. Okay, and then I'm going to center this one. Okay. Once I have those there, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, and this is the sticky side. Okay, this is going to be my next page here, and I'm going to start working on this one. So I'm going to alternate here, a piece of tape, but instead of doing all 3 of those, this time I'm going to be doing 2. And I'm going to center it in between here. Place that down. And then the next one I'm going to center in between the top 2. Just like this. You can tell this is just a bunch of eyeballing, so this makes it really fun. Okay, then I'm going to take this page, this is my second page, and I'm going to flip it over. I'm aligning this side here, and I'm going to hold this in place, and the first 3 tabs that I put on, I'm going to pull this up and pull it over. Only the first 3 tabs, not that second part. So just like that. Okay, now that the puppies have settled down, I want to put this in as a page as well, but I just want to show you real quick. We're going to go back to the 3 pieces of tape. I'm only doing this temporarily because I'm going to take this back off and tuck in some additional paper on this envelope, but so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to continue flipping this over, lining up this side here, this side. Let's back in the frame. Okay, and this time I'm going to pull over the 2 tabs, just like that. And this will keep going until you get all the way to the back page. Oopsie. Until you get to the back page, and then those will flip around to the back page. And once you have that done, then you'll end up with these tabs as your page. And isn't that cute? So I'm going to keep going here. Okay, now we're at the last page, so I have the tabs here, and this is my last page, but instead of putting additional linen tape on here, I'm just going to simply turn this over like so, okay, and I'm going to pull these tabs over to secure this back page. And just like that, I have my binding that's here. You can see right here, because it has a little give to it. But then I have my book, and I ended up adding a couple little pages additional. So you saw me put this little envelope in, and I'm going to end up decorating that and doing some stitching. I intentionally had the window here so I can make it where I cut the edge here and have it be a slide-in pocket. And then I have this hardened piece. I went ahead and pulled out a piece of music paper. So I found this little pig from, you've seen me used in past videos, the Music Hour book that I got. And then I also pulled out a page from Little Town on the Prairie, one of my favorites. So I used something there too in this project. So now I just need to do a little bit of stitching. So this was to break up the story a little bit. But now I just need to do some of the decorating on this book. but you can see how it's made, and it really lays pretty flat. Okay, here. So I hope this was a fun tutorial for you, and I hope to see some of your projects soon. Remember, you can pick up this paper collection and many, many more over at countrycraftcreations.com, and I will do a little flip through after I finish this project. But until next time, everyone, happy crafting, you all. Bye.